What's up, y'all? It's your host, SenseiNk, back here with another episode. I'm not here with my co-host, but today I have a great guest.
Thank you. Devin Boeing. Nice to meet y'all.
Of course, of course.
For sure.
How have you been, man? It's been like, what, 2-ish years, 3-ish years since the last time we talked?
About. It's been a minute. I've been good, though. I can't complain, dude.
That's good.
Can't complain at all.
What's been new ever since you've left the educational sphere?
Yeah,
and now you're around the real world. How's that?
Dude. It's good. Just staying busy, as I was just mentioning. Recently started barber school, but a lot going on with Cryptic Institute, and just kind of finalizing a lot with a lot of our programming for the summer.
That's fire. For those that don't know who you are, could you give a little layout how you got into crypto?
Yeah, for sure. Long story short, I kind of started back in 2020, 2019 with investing just in general with stocks. A lot of my friends from high school were into the stock market.
Was this while you were in New York?
No.
Oh, okay.
So I lived in New York back from like 4th grade until freshman year of high school.
Oh, okay.
And then I moved here my sophomore year, and I've been here since.
For sure.
But yeah, so 2019, 2020 is when I really got my feet wet with the investing in general. End of 2020, beginning of 2021, I really kind of started to venture off into crypto.
What was the push? Did you see like there was like a fault in fiat currency, or what happened?
Not even. It really came right when COVID hit.
Okay.
There was a big crash when COVID hit, and I was just like, let me look into this other market, because I was already having success with the stock market. I felt like I kind of had a good grasp of that market. And then I kind of really just heard about Bitcoin. Bitcoin at the time wasn't as popping. People weren't talking about it as much, but I'm like, okay, if I can kind of get a grasp of like the stock market, let me try another market and see how I can do with that.
What's the main difference that you found? Because of I feel like one of the problems with a lot of people trying to get into the field in the first place, they don't really know what's going on. So what is the main difference between those two things?
Yeah, stock market and crypto?
Yes.
I think crypto is just a whole nother beast, bro. You gotta be kind of prepared for the volatility when it comes to
bingo. Because that was one of my main things. Because I'm sitting back and I'm looking at the market. What got me into it was I was seeing a lot of people doing meme coins, and I saw people literally flipping 100 to like 1,000 to like 5,000 in a span of like 2 days.
2 days.
So I was like, what is going on, and how are people comfortable enough to put your money inside something like a meme coin and then moving that over to something like Ethereum or Bitcoin or things of that nature? Yeah. So is there like what is the main thing that's the draw for it?
For meme coins or just crypto market?
Crypto in general. We're going to get to the memes.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the biggest things was just how much more exponential your returns can be. Okay. Especially now with the meme coins, everything's a lot quicker. Your turnover for investment is like within a couple of days, which could be good and bad depending on how prepared you are for that volatility. But for me, it was just like, okay, if I can, spend 6 months making 20% returns in the stock market or 30% returns in the stock market, and I can do that in a day from a crypto trade, that's kind of what drew me in personally.
Okay. Was there like a really big trade that you saw that you're like, okay, I'm good at this, or like what happened?
Honestly, I started on the lesser side of the risk curve. So a lot of my earlier investments was in Bitcoin, Ethereum. There's another coin called Chainlink that I was heavily invested in. And then as I kind of like got a better grasp of that, it became a thing of like, okay, now I can kind of go down the risk curve and start investing into smaller market caps. And then, from there,
Okay, could you explain that? Like how you are able to understand what is going on specifically? Like what does the market show you that you're like, okay, I know this is about to be a bull run versus a bear run?
Yeah. So like everything investing is cyclical, Okay, yeah. Meaning that it goes in cycles. So and a lot of it has to do with like monetary cycles, meaning like the flow of money from one area of the cycle to another. So originally I was very intrigued about it because, like I said, during COVID, there was a big crash when COVID hit. At that point, I realized that the market was like it was at the bottom. It was in the beginning or the end of the bear market, and there's a lot of upside potential there. Okay. So then I kind of recognized, I'm like, hey, with COVID coming, there's also a lot of monetary policy changes.
Yeah, that's going to push money into their pockets.
Exactly. So there's more money coming in. Quantitative easing is something the government does to kind of alleviate a lot of.
For those that do not know, could you explain it to them?
Yeah. So the government has a lot of, especially the Federal Reserve, they pull a lot of levers to keep the economy kind of steady and, moving in the right direction, an uptrend. Quantitative easing is just pretty much them putting more money into the market so that, when there is a crash or something like that, it's able
not felt as much.
Exactly.
Okay.
So fair. We don't have a 2008 type of recession.
Okay.
You feel me?
Okay, that's fair.
And then I kind of recognize that we're at that point where it's like, okay, this is a big crash. This is a big moment. Historically, we've never. I hadn't lived through a pandemic, so I'm like, okay, this is probably a good time to be buying. But then also with that, we're in the pandemic, so there's a lot of money from the stimulus checks that were coming in. In my eyes, that just seemed like the best opportunity. Bitcoin at the time when I was first looking at it was around 8,000, 9,000. Ethereum was a few hundred. So I kind of got in at a good point, and I kind of recognized there's a ton of upside. And that's kind of where.
How were you able to shift through the noise? Because one of my big problems when I first started looking at it was during COVID too, where I was hearing a whole bunch of influencers talking about not just Bitcoin, but also NFTs and things of that nature, where I feel like the information that was being given weren't as trustworthy. And I feel like that's one of the biggest pushbacks and where people are trying to step away from the fiat currency to go towards a blockchain type of currency.
I think that's where it comes in for you, doing your own research. For me, I'm the type of person that when I'm, interested in something, I kind of get obsessive. That's kind of how it was with crypto. And that's kind of why it led me to my journey of, becoming an investor in crypto, because I was like, okay, stocks is something that I'm looking at. Crypto is something new that I want to learn.
Okay.
And crypto is also the combination of finance and tech. So it's tech is another big part of my passion. So when I started learning about it, I was like, okay, this is something that I'm super passionate about, and I get super obsessive about learning about things like that.
Are you a naturally obsessive type of person? When you find something you like, you're like, all right, I have to master it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm that's just how I am.
Where do you think that came from?
I don't know. I think I kind of like the challenge of not knowing something and then getting to a point where I feel like, okay, I'm kind of an expert. Okay. Not necessarily to say I'm an expert, but I have a good understanding of it. And that kind of led me to even wanting to be a content creator. That's how the journey really started. Back.
What was your first few posts?
My first few posts it's kind of funny. They were skits.
Okay, yeah.
And that's not really my forte, to be honest. I'm not much of an actor, role player type of person, but I realized that kind of content was what people were able to digest easily when it came to learning about investing and learning about crypto in general. So it was really, I think that helped put put things into perspective as far as making it digestible for people to understand.
Was that always a big thing, trying to not so much convince people to join, but trying to get them to ease their worries about it?
For me, it was always a thing of when I first started creating content, it was more of okay, I feel like this is something that everyone needs to know. People aren't really talking about it as much. I'm just going to put out content because I feel like I got to get off my chest.
Okay, yeah.
So for me, it wasn't even about, I feel like, trying to convince people or persuade them. It was more of I'm just going to create content because, one, it's the pandemic. I'm at home.
Yeah, there's nothing to do.
There's not much to do. I'm already obsessive about this. I might as well share what I'm learning. You know, so it wasn't even a thing of okay, I'm gonna grow a following from this or anything. I just started putting content out.
Pre-crypto, were you a finance bro?
I wouldn't consider myself a finance bro.
Oh, okay.
I think some of the friends that I had from high school were finance bros, and that kind of rubbed off on me as we graduated high school, and then going into college. And then it kind of just made me someone that was interested in investing. It's if this is something that I can continue to grow and learn about over the years, I might as well build that skill.
What was some of the techniques that you'd get from being in finance? Because I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand when you try and think of for example, the stock market compared to crypto, because of it's still the same people putting money in and watching it go up and down.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've noticed about crypto, I feel like people are a lot more, not so much skeptical, but the people that are putting money into crypto, they tend to act very brashly towards it. And that's kind of where you see all like the volatility from the start.
Yeah. You know, something I just recently released a Crypto 101 guide, and a big emphasis that I had was on investor psychology. And something that you realize is that majority, especially within crypto, you see it the most because of how, you know, how volatile people's emotions are.
Oh, yeah.
It's all tied to how the market reacts, you know? Like, the reason why you have so many huge swings in crypto is because of people's emotion. Like, you have 1 second people are, you know, euphoric, and then you have another moment where they're in a depressive phase, you feel me? And you kind of see that within the charts, you know, when you're looking at a lot of these investments. So I think everything is like an emotional game when it comes to investing.
That's fair. Did you get a chance to look at any of the things that's going on with DeepSeek and ChatGPT? Because that's a good segue, because I feel like once DeepSeek came out, I lost so much bread from that exact moment, because like all the stocks tanked, all the cryptos tanked. So I was like, you know what, it would be dumb to pull it out now, so I'll just sit and wait. Yeah. That's what I've been.
You don't lose money until you sell. But,
that's true.
But one thing I'll say about DeepSeek is like it made a true competitor to, you know, ChatGPT. Mainly because of the fact that it was a Chinese competitor. U.S. and China are like we're going head to head right now. You feel me? And honestly, China is our biggest competitor when it comes to global scale. DeepSeek really just put a lot of pressure on ChatGPT because it's a more efficient, not only the way the model, like the way the AI models work, but also in the sense of how much it costs to run the models. You know, it's
comparing the $6 billion to like the $100 billion, $500 billion for NVIDIA.
Exactly. So it's like, it's one of those things where it put a lot of pressure on ChatGPT and OpenAI. One, it's a Chinese competitor. Two, it's open source, meaning like a lot of the code is, you know,
everyone else can build upon what they have, because it's free for everyone to look at it and understand what's going on.
Exactly. That's exactly what it means. And then it just does exactly what ChatGPT does, and some might say, you know, in certain areas is better.
Honestly, one of my things, especially while I was doing some research on it, watching the way that China was able to use less efficient models and data chips and things of that nature and build something so advanced is insane. Because I was thinking about it, America has went out their way to hold back their chips from their competitors. So the fact that they're able to use like generationally old stuff and still come out with something better for cheap, it really makes you wonder what would happen if they're able to actually have like the good stuff that we've been hiding. So
it's like, it definitely puts us in a position where it's like, okay, Americans have to really reflect on how much, because at the end of the day, whoever wins this AI race is they're going to be
at the head for the next 50 to 100 years easily.
So it's like the biggest thing we have to win right now. You know, and China putting that much pressure on us and the way they're doing it, it's like, it's not looking the best for us, but.
And my thing is, it makes me notice how like wasteful Americans can be, because of like, I used to do a lot of work in politics where I'd see some of the legislation that's being written where they would give like $1 trillion to military and $1 billion here and billions of dollars there, and I'm like, we are being gouged so much in pricing right now, and the fact that we're sitting here literally just wasting this money. Where is this money going? Not even to the grander scheme where it's like, why isn't it at least as good? So are you always being lazy?
And that's a big part of what, you know, the new presidency is like focused on. It's like, where's all this government spending going? You feel me? Like, there's so much money that's just being, you know, allocated for this and that and this and that, but like, where is it actually, like, where's the outcomes, you know, where can we see the outcomes?
Where the benefits going to be coming from saving all this money.
Exactly.
And I sit back and I wonder, I hope that they're able to pick the correct things to remove money from instead of just like randomly grabbing things that we need. You know? Especially what we're thinking, especially in like the state that we're in as a nation. I went to the grocery store and eggs were actually like $7. I was like, geez, that's $1 a pop? That's ridiculous. Yeah. So it makes you worry. Definitely does worry me. But
and that's something that like a lot of people are like worried about. It's like who's to say where the money's supposed to go and where it's not, you know, where the budget cuts are supposed to be and where they're not, you know? And that's why I feel like the next 4 years is going to be interesting, and it could be a lot of turmoil just because of that fact. It's like a lot of money is going to be taken from places where people disagree, you know, as far as where the money should go and where it shouldn't be, you know?
How do you feel about Trump being set as the crypto president? So, like, do you feel like there's been actual benefits that's been towards the market because of like one of the main reasons that he was able to get elected was his favorable hand to Silicon Valley as well as like crypto bros and things like that. Yeah. So
I think what Trump does is he brings a lot of like regulatory framework to the crypto space, which is like very much needed. There's just so much going on within crypto that people don't have any like legislative, you know, framework to work with, you know?
I'm under the opinion where it's like the people that are supposed to regulate them, they don't know what's happening. Exactly. Just purely. Exactly. So them trying to regulate a thing they don't understand is kind of like wasteful.
Yeah.
So
and I think one thing Trump's presidency is doing is he's bringing in people that are knowledgeable about when it comes to tech and when it comes to crypto, so that the frameworks aren't killing us in the sense of like competing on a global scale. Okay, like we're not like ideally we're not going to be put in a position where we're not being competitive to somewhere like China when it comes to adopting frameworks that are beneficial when it comes to blockchain technology or crypto or AI, whatever it may be. You know?
Yeah, no. Honestly, that was one of the things that's not so much worried me, but made me make a double take because of Trump was able to release his meme coin, and literally it's skyrocketed in value. Yeah. Like I jumped in at like about 30 cents ish, and then it jumps to like 50 out of nowhere. Yeah. And I was like, wait, let's really see how I can go. I tell my friends, hey, I would jump in if I was y'all. So I had some of my friends jump in, and I went to sleep, and I woke up, that mug just like skyrocketed down. Yeah. And I was like, shh. My thing is, did you just take your fans' money and just ran away with it?
Hey, and that's the thing. It's like, how do I say this? It's like it's still very unregulated, and I think he did that before he got into presidency because it allowed him to not be persecuted while considering he wasn't a president yet. You know,
technically,
yeah. So it's like I don't know what his chess move was with that realistically.
Honestly, I think he just wanted to have a couple people get a couple hundreds of $1 million out of nowhere.
I feel like he has people that are making money in the background from that.
And that's kind of one of my biggest problems, especially like his fan base doesn't understand crypto. They usually I want to say they're uneducated, but the vast majority of his people that voted were uneducated that voted. Right. And the people that put in their money probably didn't know you're supposed to sell it. So like that might be and the fact that they did that for his and then Melania also did it too.
You know, it was all within a week span.
Exactly.
And that's the thing is like people don't understand, especially with meme coins. It wasn't like this like last cycle, 2021 cycle. I think the rate at which you got to sell is like super quick. Like you only got a day or two.
Like if you're not in one of like the big meme coins like a Chibi Inu or a Dogecoin or a Pepe or something of that nature. You're cooked. You're
actually cooked. Yeah. You're actually cooked. Like your window of getting in and out is within 24 hours max.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a good thing. I think it's what it is doing is diluting a lot of the market and making it harder for people to trust the market. Just because a lot of people are jumping in and being like, okay, I'm gonna hold, you know? Thinking like a week is too long.
A week is crazy.
Yeah, a week is crazy for meme coins. You can't like you're in it. It's literally 24 hours max, 2 days if you're lucky. But you gotta be in and out with those.
Because I remember in 2021, they were having a whole bunch of influencers were dropping their coins, from like Logan Paul to a whole bunch of other people. And not only did we have celebrities, we had Twitter forums that were made specifically for meme coins and cryptocurrency in general, where you have like this whole big fan base, and the value of the meme is based off of trusting everybody else in the meme, and that's just scary. That's just scary to be able to think about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it definitely worries me because of I don't know where they're trying to go with this, because of you're pulling the rug out of so many people all the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, what I'll say is like it's definitely changing the landscape, and I don't know if I don't think it's for the better personally, just because. Rewind back to 2021, it was like, yeah, you had the Logan Pauls, you had the celebrity coins that were coming up, but not to the extent that you have it now.
Yeah.
And it's like
the Haktua one, for example.
You know, and it's like now it's like, okay, maybe you could have had a little bit of faith in some of those coins back then. Now it's like you don't trust a celebrity coin. Don't trust majority of meme coins in general.
You should know now.
Yeah, you should know now. Exactly. You should know the playbook. It's like if a celebrity comes out with a meme coin, you should know that's going to go down within the next few days. You feel me? Like there's no substance behind it.
And I was trying to figure out where they're making the money, and then I realized there's the minting process. Is that what they're making their money off of?
Yeah. So, I mean, anyone can make a meme coin within 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
It's not anything hard to do. And once it's out there, there is some levels to it becoming successful as far as gaining popularity, but when you mint it, there's people that can snipe it and get in early before it's really, publicized and, put on to certain platforms that everyone else is able to access easily. So that's what a lot of these people are doing. It's like they're creating wallets, getting in early.
How do you find out about these cryptocurrencies before everybody else does?
As far as the meme coins, or just in general?
Let's go meme, then let's go the grander scale.
The meme coins is like, there's platforms that you can look at. Meme Scope is one of them, where you can literally watch all the coins that are being minted as they're being minted, and you can see as they're migrating onto the blockchain as the contracts are being verified. So there are people that are really like in the trenches when it comes to looking at those meme coins. That's a little bit harder. Personally, I don't do a lot of that. It's a lot of just
staring out of
staring at a screen. It's not really my cup of tea, and I did it for a little while, but it's like
how was that?
It's hard because it's like you got to really be locked in. Like you got to be locked in. Also, you got to be like early on the trends. You got to spend a lot of time and really like position yourself to like be early. But with those, it's like, I mean, you can only get in so early. Once some of them launch, and especially when they're put on to social media, it's like the market cap is rising every minute. You feel me? You can watch something go from 4 million market cap to 50 million in 10 minutes. Yeah. And in that's a 10x right there. So
that's fair. Yeah. What other aspects of crypto have you like actively worked on to like figure out how this whole thing works?
As far as
actually, wait. We jumped over the bigger cryptos. Yeah. How do you figure out when there's a good crypto out? Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of getting a little bit harder now because there's so many coming out right now. There's not as many good projects coming out. You kind of got to look at the team. A big thing about it is look at the team. Look at the wallets that are holding the coin. That's a big part. How distribute it. How does
that? What do you mean?
You kind of gotta start looking at the blockchain data a little bit more, and that's where it can get a little bit more technical. Every blockchain has like a blockchain explorer where you can kind of see, when a token is released, it has a token address, and then you can kind of look at who are the biggest wallets holding that token. When you look at those wallets, you can kind of see how distributed the token is. So let's imagine one wallet's holding 60% of the token. That's not a good sign. Because that means that person can easily dump the token, and they own a majority of the token.
Yeah, if they leave, it's worthless.
It's worthless. Yeah. They rug the project. You're looking for more distributed tokens, where the top holders are less than 2% holders of the token.
And
you can all see that on like there's Ethereum. Etherscan or ETHScan, SoulScan. There's different websites that allow you to like look at the blockchain data, but it's not user friendly at all.
So is that kind of how they figured out, for example, Haktua? So one of the main things they saw that it was literally like 3 accounts that held like majority of it.
Yeah.
And alongside that is the way that they're minting it. You said that when you mint, you have to like pay like a little fee, right? Is that where the majority of the money is from? Like if you're trying to make money, like creating a crypto.
Yes and no. Like, so when you make a coin, it's not super expensive.
Okay.
You just gotta, if you want to do it right, you kind of gotta know what you're doing.
Okay.
But it's not super expensive. The way they make money from like something like that is just by getting in early. You know, like creating a wallet, buying like $1,000 worth. You know, the next thing they'll probably do is tweet about it. You know, share it to their following. Their following pumps it, and then their $1,000 is worth $100,000 now. You know, so like that's what a lot of these meme coins and celebrities have been doing, and that's kind of like the playbook for them.
Is that illegal? That sounds very illegal.
And that's where the regulation needs to come in. You feel me? Like people, there is no regulation if it's legal or not.
Yeah.
You know? Because there's no one stopping you from creating a meme coin and selling it whenever you want. You know, there's literally nothing that says that's illegal. So that's where we're at a point where it's like there's a lot of gray area. And that's why I feel like the framework, the regulation is important. You know? Yeah.
Because of like I remember I went on Twitter and it was Instagram. Metaverse posted this one guy. He was talking about how he essentially did a rug pull. He was like, yeah, this guy, he told me as long as I put my name on it and I tweet about it like 4 times, it'll just triple and quadruple in price every time I tweet. Yeah. So I'm like, the fact that that's such an easy thing to do, I find that just wild.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like a lot of people are abusing their influence when it comes to that, you know? And a lot of people that have the influence don't know what's going on behind the scenes. There'll be like a team that reaches out to them, and be like, you know, Kanye recently posted about this. You know, a team reached out to him and they're like, okay, we'll give you $2 million to post about or repost this meme coin. You know, meanwhile they're making, you know, tens of millions in the back. You feel me? And all he would have to do is just repost it, post about it a few times,
hit a couple buttons.
Yeah, and he's making $2 million. So like a lot of celebrities, a lot of people with influence are taking that. You know, they're like, oh, that's an easy bag for me. Not recognizing that they're scamming their whole. I mean, I'm sure they're recognizing it, but you know, but not caring that they're scamming their whole audience, their whole fan base. And then there's these guys that understand what's going on, that are making tens of millions behind the scenes, you know.
And the first thing that got me thinking about that was when Elon Musk first came out with Doge, where he would, every time he used Twitter, the price of Doge would jump, literally. And then it got to the point where he was just constantly tweeting, constantly reposting everybody, and that's kind of like how it like started to surge crazy, because he was able to make like a cultish fan around Doge to begin with. Yeah. So my thing is, I feel like that's kind of problematic when you have an individual with a lot of money inside this type of field.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's very problematic, because especially when you have that much influence. It's like Dogecoin at the time, you know, was in the billions of market cap, and even then he was able to influence it to, you know, to rise a lot more from there. But someone with that much influence is easily able to move a token, you know. And there's just so much of that going on right now. You know, you got the Aiden Ross and the FaZe Banks right now that are kind of really pushing the meme coins and trying to get people to get behind, you know, a lot of the meme coins that they're putting out, or that they're behind, or that they're buying. Personally, it's like I've kind of swayed away from a lot of content around these like newer coins and just in general, just because it's like I just know what the aftermath looks like.
Okay.
You know, there's not a lot of winners. When it comes to it. So
okay. Yeah. Is there like how would you try and instruct somebody to learn about crypto?
I would say there's 2 sides of crypto. Like there's the tech side and there's the finance side. Okay. So for me, part of what got me super interested was actually both sides. But I love the fact that, you know, it was the intersection between tech as well. So when it comes to learning about it, I say always start with Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin is why this crypto industry.
That's why it matters.
Why it matters. You feel me? Why it has any legitimacy to any extent. So learn about Bitcoin. Read the Bitcoin white paper. Understand why it was created, how it was created. I would say understand how the blockchain works, because that's where you're doing a lot of the trading and investing on. If you really want to have an edge, you got to kind of understand how, that technology works. And then, it comes back to the investing principles, learning how to understand, the volume on the chart, or understanding, the RSI, if something's oversold, overbought. With meme coins and like cryptocurrencies, some of those metrics don't apply as much just because of how like quick the market moves. But yeah, understanding the basis of investing is always something you got to do, and like I said, I recently came out with my crypto 101 guide. That's something that I highly suggest people check out. It's kind of,
where could they find it?
On my website, cryptic.institute. You'll be able to find it there. It's also, in my bio on Instagram, all my social media. So I think, what I tried to do with that was try to give everyone the holistic point of view of how to approach the crypto market, from understanding how, investor psychology works, to understanding how to, how to understand, market sentiment, to understanding narratives, to like, understanding where we are in cycles. Like I feel like there's levels to it, but it's like you kind of gotta layer on the different.
Yeah, you gotta know the basics before you can actually like move up. Of course.
Exactly.
What is it that? How could I phrase this the best? Do you think it's worth it? Do you actually think getting into crypto is genuinely worth it for the average person?
Yes.
Okay.
So what I would say about crypto right now is that it's in an interesting spot.
Okay.
I'm not in favor of how the direction is going right now.
Okay.
If I'm being honest. One thing about crypto is that the technology, blockchain technology, cryptography, Bitcoin, peer-to-peer money exchange, those aspects of it are, I think, the best parts of it, those are aspects that I feel like people really need to dive into. The meme coin side, just the hypeness around it, is that aspect you got to be a little more careful with.
Okay.
And to further explain, it's like when you're talking about the peer-to-peer aspects, you're talking about the technology side of things. I think there's a lot of value there, especially for people that don't live in the U.S. You feel me? I feel like in the U.S. we're kind of privileged in the sense of we have a sound banking system, fiat money works for us. But if you go across the world, I'm Liberian, so I'll speak for my people. It's like, go to Liberia, the banking system isn't as smooth as it is out here. You feel me? Yeah. Even in places like like Canada, you recently had issues where people's bank accounts were being frozen. So just having that flexibility and ownership over your money, and being able to exchange value in a more seamless way without having those intermediaries of a bank, I think that's where crypto, the power of it really lies. I think what people are doing now is running with the fact that crypto is still a very unregulated market.
That's where everyone's trying to make their money, not so much trying to build it.
Exactly. Okay. And I think that's where a lot of people get swayed away from crypto. And I don't blame them, because there's a lot of
if I saw 10,000 disappear, I'd be upset too.
You feel me? Like I would be a little triggered too. You feel me? I'll lose trust in the space too. But it's like, I feel like long term there's so much value in the crypto space because of those fundamental values that it brings as far as the technology was. There's so much potential there. It's just, are people going to take it in that direction, or are they going to decide to make it a glorified casino?
Okay, I feel that, because I'm from Nigeria, right? And I talked to some of my family that's over there, and it's like there's a chance that your bank might just lose your account, and you just have to just sit there with your hands on your hips.
Right.
And the fact that that's even possible in the 21st century is crazy to me.
Exactly.
Especially where there's so many parts around the world where corruption is like the main form of their business. And it gets to the point where it's like, who am I supposed to turn to? And I understand why why countries like, for example, El Salvador bring in Bitcoin into their economy. Like, that's a way to set a straight value for the thing that you do have.
Exactly. So, and a lot of, speaking on El Salvador, it's like the main reason for them doing that is because of how inflation, like how inflationary their currency is. You feel me? Like a lot of countries don't have a US dollar, you know, to rely on. You know, you go to a lot of countries in Africa, just in general, don't have, you know, quality currencies.
So they don't have the military to make sure it's a quality.
Exactly. So it's like a lot of their value is being diminished by the day. So it's like for them, you know, one, having the ability to bank their own money by using a crypto wallet is a huge aspect. But then also having that security and also being able to exchange that money is another huge aspect. Like I said, those are things that we take for granted being in America, you know, where we don't have as much corruption, or, you know, we can somewhat rely on our government to not, you know, have our money disappear out of our bank accounts. We can
rely on them to not mess up their own money. So yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Do you know the history of Bitcoin?
Yeah.
So I was looking at the founder, and there's no picture of him anywhere.
Yeah.
Can you go into that?
Yeah. So that's kind of what makes Bitcoin interesting. Bitcoin originated out of the 2008 financial crisis. Satoshi Nakamoto is the pseudonym name for the founder of Bitcoin. No one really knows who he or she is. There's records of emails, and of course transactions, you know, with Bitcoins, but their wallet hasn't been touched since 2009.
Oh, wow.
So Bitcoin, like I said, started from the 2008 financial crisis, and really because people lost trust in the government. You know, when, you know, that crisis was happening, people were like, okay, you know, this Bitcoin is an alternative to the system that we have, you know, and this is where tech plays a big part into it. It's like, now we have a peer-to-peer exchange system
where you can hold each other accountable.
Exactly. Without having corruption, you know, having a middleman that could be corrupt, you know. So that's where Bitcoin really, you know, grew from. And then as time has gone on, it's become, you know, different. It's gone down different avenues of, you know, people saying it's a good store of value. You know, past that, it's, you know, a great exchange of, you know, currency. You know, there's different ways to look at Bitcoin, but, you know, it really stemmed from there, and now it's kind of become something a lot more. And I honestly think the fact that the founder is, you know, not known,
anonymous,
is part of why it's, you know, had such a long legacy. You know, because it's like, you know, everyone can use it without saying, okay, it's attached to this government or it's attached to this government. It's like, it's not a U.S. currency, it's not a Chinese currency, you know.
It's a guy.
It's a guy. It's an everybody currency. You know, you can kind of make it what you want at the moment. You feel me? So I think that's a big part of, you know, the success of Bitcoin. It's like, okay, we don't really know who this person is, but we know that, you know, this currency can live on without their intervention.
And honestly, I feel like one of the most important parts, the fact that he was able to have 50, or they were able to have 50 Bitcoins inside their wallet and actually just not touch it, even though when it hit $100,000, still not touch it. And the fact that it stayed the course and no one has interrupted or done anything like too shady is a really big plus. Could you explain the math behind it about trying to get a new Bitcoin?
As far as mining it?
Yeah, mining it, yes.
Yeah, so everything with like Bitcoin is computational. So the way mining works is that there's a bunch of computers, or there's a bunch of math equations that have to be solved to mine a Bitcoin.
Okay.
And this is why you have these big, and this is why people talk about the energy consumption of Bitcoin, because of the mining aspect. It's like you need these very powerful GPUs to do all these math equations to mine it. And pretty much what's going on is that all these miners are trying to solve the answer to this equation, and whoever gets the right answer is the one who collects the Bitcoin.
What is this equation? Like, how is it written? Like, what is...
It's not necessarily... I wouldn't say it's an equation. It's just...
I've heard like it's a language.
It's not necessarily an equation. It's more of like a mathematical problem that you have to solve, but it's not something that a human could do. Like, you couldn't sit down and
write it out.
No.
Okay.
You know, it needs a lot of computing power to like pretty much trial. Like, I would say it's more of like how would I say it? Trial and error.
Okay.
And like what the computers are kind of doing is just trying. First one to hit.
Gets
the return of the Bitcoin.
Okay. And then it's another question that comes up.
It's another in each block. It's
just harder question and harder question.
Yeah, it just gets harder and harder and harder.
Jesus. What was the first one then? Like, was it like genuinely like?
Yeah, I don't personally. I don't know what the first block that was mined and how hard that was. But the goal here is to make it so that over time, the currency kind of is mined by, is mined in a way that's fair.
Okay.
What
do you mean by mined in a way that's fair?
Because it's like you can't just, there's no room for someone to come in and be like, okay, I'm just going to mine all this by myself. It's gonna take it takes a lot of computing power. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, energy. And this is what Bitcoin is known for. It's a consensus mechanism called proof of work.
Okay, yeah.
Where it's like to actually mine the Bitcoin, there's a level of energy and work that goes into it as far as the computing power.
And isn't it one of the things where I've heard if it's wrong, the other people in the blockchain is like, oh yeah, no, this has been faked.
Right.
Okay.
So everything, that's what makes blockchain so valuable, is that like you can't fake it. Everything has to be verified by the information of the last block on the chain. So for example, everything on the blockchain is essentially blocks, and each block has transactions, and all the transactions have to be verified by the last block to say, okay, what's being minted now is accurate because they have all the information of the last blocks. So it's not like someone can say, oh, like this is what the next block is without
having the proof of the last one. Okay.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Wow.
What is your goal with the amount of information that you're taking in about crypto? What is your plan?
My plan, honestly, I love the potential of the space.
Okay.
And for me, a big part of it is being able to get to a point where I can take a lot of the information and apply it back home.
Okay.
So like a lot of the work that I'm actually kind of doing right now behind the scenes is working with some people in Liberia to figure out, okay, how can cryptocurrency and how can emerging tech be taken advantage of by Liberian people to create a competitive advantage. You feel me? So like for me, it's like I understand that this technology is not going anywhere. It's only going to become more integrated into our society. It's only going to become more used, become more valuable. So for me, it's like the same way, people compound, like, there's a compounding effect to money. I think my knowledge is like compounding in that sense. It's like as time goes on, the knowledge that I have becomes more valuable. I'm able to, create guides and create courses that people are gonna, value,
able to use for the
long term, because this information is so important in our society. So for me, it's like, as time goes on, I just want to be able to be that person that people come to when it comes to, emerging tech, not only crypto, but AI, virtual reality, and help people understand the applications of it, but then also those, societal impacts.
For sure. Wow. So now that you're out of school and you're living the real world, how have you been? Like, what's been fueling you? Like, what you been getting up to?
Yeah. So for me, like a big part of my time consumption is really figuring out how I can make what I'm building at Crypto Institute something that I can do completely full time.
Okay. Yeah.
So right now, a lot of what we've been doing at Crypto Institute is just really securing our strategic partners. And when it comes to working with, cities, businesses, and universities. So right now we're official vendors with the University of Minnesota, official vendors with the City of St. Paul, and official vendors with over 100 libraries in this one cities. Okay. And the strategy of that is that, okay, how can we make this education as accessible and digestible as possible? Something that a lot of people don't know is that Minnesota is currently 48th out of 50 states for tech education.
Oh wow! How come?
It's just something that we don't
value it.
Yeah, we don't value. We don't offer enough, classes in high schools. It's really just.
Is Texas better than us?
I think so. Yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
We're literally. 48.
How about Alabama?
Alabama's better than us.
That is insane.
Sure. Yeah, like Minnesota is like not in a good space when it comes to tech education. Mainly like computer science. And that's not only an issue that's, education issue, but that affects our workforce. Yeah. So a big focus for Crypto Institute is like, how can we alleviate some of that, that struggle and kind of supplement that education? So a lot of what we do is partner with strategic, organizations like the City of St. Paul, like the University of Minnesota, so that we're able to release this education in a way that we can, not only get it to people that need it, but really work with underserved communities as well. Because it's like, if we're 48th for computer science and just tech in general, emerging tech is something that's moving at a faster rate. Yeah. You feel me? Yeah. So like, I've talked to a number of, people that have worked with legislatures, legislatives in Minnesota, and there's not really a push for this. You feel me? They're taking their own time, and realistically, they don't think a lot of things are going to change until like probably 5 to 10 years from now. Oh wow! Before we actually start seeing, curriculum being built out. Schools kind of, getting funded for this education.
So there's like an actual not crypto, but like computer science courses and classes type of thing.
Okay. Exactly. There's a huge lack of that. Something that I'm working on right now is like, how can we supplement a lot of that education? How can we show up in places that people, can easily access this, at libraries? How can we show up at, different programs that work at the University of Minnesota? How can we work with the City of St. Paul to create a strategy so that, even though this education isn't being focused on in the traditional education system, how can we still get this education to people so that they're not left behind in this shift that's happening? Because the biggest thing is that this technology is only going to keep moving at a faster pace. You feel me? Crypto is only going to keep moving at a faster pace. AI is going to only keep moving at a faster pace. But if we don't have a way to supplement that lack of education, Minnesota is not only going to be, falling behind when it comes to the education of it, we're also not going to be preparing a lot of the students that come
for the real world,
for the future of work. You feel me?
I feel it. One of the things that I missed. Okay, so are you scared of how advanced AI is getting? Like, do you feel like we're moving at an unprecedented rate, or do you feel like this is like we're about time that we finally got here?
I think it's moving fast. I think it's moving fast, but people shouldn't be worried, because it's like there's room for you to take advantage of it. Okay. In the sense of like, a lot of people are worried like AI is gonna take our jobs, X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, that's not really the case, because it's like there's still so much room for people to manage the AI. So like what I think a lot of people should be focused on is like learning about AI to use it in their job, so that instead of being replaced by AI, they actually should be worried about the people that are learning about AI and that are understanding how to use AI to make their workflow a lot more efficient. Because that's how it's gonna go. Someone in sales isn't gonna be completely replaced by AI. They're gonna be replaced by someone that knows sales and understands AI tools to make their job more efficient. Oh, okay. So you see how that works? It's like it's not going to be a complete,
It's not going to be a robot. It will be a person using AI than anything else. Okay,
and it's
that's
like
fair.
It's like if you're not educated on that, you're going to be replaced by that person that understands, AI.
Okay.
You feel me?
Okay. Earlier we were talking about ChatGPT, and kind of ties into the replacement aspect of using these AIs instead of people. Is there a worry for where all this data and information is going that you've seen, or do you feel like there's that we have it under control as of now?
Yeah, that's a big part of the whole DeepSeek versus ChatGPT argument. Even before DeepSeek, there's a huge need for policy as far as how the information and the data that's being collected by these AI models, how it's being used. And technically, any information that you put into ChatGPT can be used by them to continue to build the model. Yeah. Because that's how the model becomes smarter. You feel me? It takes the information that it has in the database. It learns from what you're adding to it, and it continues to
and then it adds onto what you're asking it.
That's machine learning. So the issue becomes,
real quick, I find it funny that DeepSeek was able to do that with like smaller levels of databases, and they're still able to move as fast as they did. So
it's crazy. It's actually crazy. But then it becomes an issue. Is like DeepSeek is owned by the Chinese government. And then it's like the part of the problem became that part of the problem that people weren't realizing is like when DeepSeek came, so many people were so quick to sign up for that and like not realize that they're giving their information to another government. This is the main reason why the TikTok ban was such a thing, because the U.S. government doesn't like China having that much data on U.S. people.
I feel like American citizens are so like tired of the American government that they're like, you know what? I'm not gonna give my information to Zuckerberg. Take it China.
They don't even care. Exactly. They don't even care. And that's a crazy reality, but it's like that's where we're at. People don't really care because they understand that one, Zuckerberg they're already doing what they want with their data. Data, those aren't social media companies anymore. They're data companies. And this is why I focus on Web3. We didn't touch much on the whole Web3 ethos, but that's like a lot of what a lot of these technologies are a part of.
Could you explain Web3?
Yeah. So long story short, it's the original version of the web was Web 1, started in the late 1990s, early 2000s. That version of the web was where we could only like read on the internet. Okay. And then
like AOL type of thing?
AOL, not even AOL. We weren't even at AOL yet. It was more of like forums.
Oh,
not even. I wouldn't say forums. It was more of just articles.
Okay.
You go on the internet, you read an article. You couldn't comment on anything. You couldn't share it. It was just information. You're able to read it. Web 2 came along when you had the introduction of social medias. That's where people became were able to start interacting on the internet. A big emphasis on being able to read and write. That was around the early 2007.
Yeah, that's around like Facebook-ish.
Yeah. When all those came out, now people were able to interact. AOL was a big part of that. But that started to drift us away from the original vision of the web, because now you have these companies that are beginning to own a lot of the information and the data, and kind of creating an internet that isn't as open.
They're able to remove stuff.
People don't realize that the internet that we use is a very like siloed version of the internet. You feel me? Like it's a bubble. You feel me? Google gives you the information that they want to give you. They hide information that they don't want to show to you, and like they control what information you're able to get. So as vast as the internet is, we're only able to get a certain amount. And now we're trying to go towards a version of the internet that is more distributed, where users are now owning that information, that data, and that value that they're creating on the internet, because of the fact that we have these social media giants that are currently monopolizing the internet, controlling the internet, and kind of making it a bubble. You feel me? So it's like Web3 is that vision of the internet where users kind of take back that value and that overall distribution of data, and it's becoming hopefully more distributed as far as information and, you know, the bubble that we're currently in.
Fair enough. Wow.
And then this is where like AI and cryptocurrencies come into play, because it's like blockchains are databases. Ultimately, that's what a blockchain is. It's a database. It's a ledger. It keeps record of transactions, information, X, Y, and Z. You know, so people are trying to shift it to add blockchains more into the internet, because it's like now people want more ownership of that value that they're creating. Blockchains are a good way to do that, because it makes the internet more transparent. It makes it more, you know, traceable, in the sense of, you know, if I'm adding X amount of value to this platform, you know, I should be getting X amount as far as compensation. You feel me? You feel me? It's like that's the way it should be, but that's not the way it is. You know, you got YouTube, and you got TikTok and all the other platforms that are saying you can make X amount of money. You know, you make a viral video that has millions of views and you make no money. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, I can't get paid to like have 10,000 followers.
You feel me? It's crazy. They set all these like boundaries and stuff, and it's like at the end of the day, they're making all the bank.
Oh yeah, like I saw my friend. He was swiping. He was watching one of my videos, and then an ad popped up. And I'm like, there's no way it gave you an ad and I don't get a penny from this. This is ridiculous.
Nothing. You don't get nothing. And it's like they're making all the money, and you're creating all the value. And you have to really be a top creator to really even see that. And then even the top creators, I know so many. I have a few friends that are, you know, have hundreds of thousands of followers, you know, and they're still not making
they
bread
can't,
off of that.
Yeah, they can't get 1,000 in a month.
You feel me? They can't even get to pay their rent. You feel me? They gotta get sponsorship deals, X, Y, and Z, and it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah,
you know, the users are making the value. You know,
honestly, I think that's why a place like streaming has taken off so much, and just like going live in general, like on different platforms, because you have people legitimately, here is $5 from my pocket to your pocket.
Direct. You feel me? It's a big shift, and you know, and that's why you see people like Kai Cenat, one of the making some of the, you know, the most money, $
4 million in a month, and that's just light work,
just, you know, just
without ads or nothing.
You know, just for him being him, but like he is the value, and you know, that's what these platforms are realizing. It's like, you know, we're nothing without the creators, and it's hard to kind of shift it back into that direction of valuing the creators, but that's the goal of Web3. It's like, how can we kind of get a more how can we get a more distributed version of the internet?
Perfect.
You know, using these different technologies.
All right, we've got to the end of the segment where I go to the Wish I Had a Sensei, where I ask my guests what they wish they had known earlier.
Just in general?
Yes, just in general. Let's go just vague.
What I wish I would have known earlier. I honestly wish I would have known about cryptocurrencies earlier. Like, you ever see those memes of like what I was doing in the second grade when I should have been investing into Bitcoin? I wish I would have known about it early, because it's one of those things where it's like people for the past decade have been calling crypto or Bitcoin a scam, and it's like a decade later, it's like, what are you gonna call it now that governments are embracing it? X, Y, and Z. So like, it's one of those things where it's like, if I would have known, I would have, even in high school, if I would have known, I would have.
If I just gave him $40.
Yeah, you feel me? It wouldn't even taken much. You feel me? So I think that's one of the things. If I would have known, I would have done better.
And honestly, I'm at the place where it's like, I don't want to jump in at $100,000, but this might be the best time.
This might be the best time. You know, you might look back 10 years and be like, damn, that $100,000 was cheap.
Yeah, literally.
You feel me? So it's like, you kind of got to put things in perspective, you know? And that's why I tell people not to be so quick to be dismissive of new things. It's like, you know, you have the opportunity now, and it's a risk. It's a risk.
Like everything else.
You feel me? Everyone that was investing into Bitcoin when it was, you know, at hundreds of dollars, there was a risk involved. You know, there was a lot of, you know, as far as storing it, you know, to the volatility. Like there's so much risk that was involved, but it's like you're betting, like that risk came with so much upside and reward. You feel me? Like there's so much potential there. Yeah. So I feel like people need to, especially we're young, bro. We're in our 20s. Take the risk. If the risk doesn't work out, bro, there's always something to fall back on. You know?
You might lose this like even if it's something that crazy like $4,000. You'll have all this time to make $4,000 back.
Time is on your side. You feel me? And it's like, for me, it's like you'd rather take the risk and not or you rather take the risk now and regret it than like not take the risk and be like, damn, only if I
what if,
you feel me? That hurts more in my opinion. You
for
feel
sure,
me?
for sure.
So it's like,
I feel it. Like I say, thank you for pulling up.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, anytime.
Appreciate it.
All right, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Go to the bio. You'll see his stuff. You'll see more of my stuff. Go find it. Where can they find you at?
Cryptic.institute is our website. Cryptic Institute is all of our social handles to some extent. Some of them might be a little bit shorter. My Instagram is Devin.Boeing, Boeing, like the plane. You can find me on all social medias under that. So,
all right. We out.